Because this, in my recollection, is the very first time we are doing this. And at the end of the day, it will be our appendage to the forced distribution or deployment as a mandate of the National Assembly. Madam Speaker, I'm just looking at the law so that we do not do something unconstitutional and so that we don't do something outside the law. Section 108 of the Police Service Act states that the President may, on the application of the government of a reciprocating country and so on. I have looked at the functions. Madam Speaker, I've looked at the functions of the police service, and I have looked through all the functions that are given to the Inspector General, except for 108, the only section in which the President may send police service is section 108. The rest of the sections, police service are a homeland. They protect inside the country. The only place in which police service can go outside the country is under 108. And under 108, it begins by saying the President can do that, but in a reciprocating country. Madam Speaker, I would want the chair to express itself to apply its mind to whether Haiti is a reciprocating country. Whether Haiti is a reciprocating country. Because if it is not a reciprocating country, over all the things we have said, police service is supposed to help us internally, not outside. And the authority given by the law is only the authority to reciprocating countries. And so, Madam Speaker, I think this is a very important issue that even as we are going on, I don't say that we stay the proceedings, but I'm asking that the speakership should apply its mind and come back with a reasoned communication from the chair, whether in the facts of this matter, Haiti is a reciprocating country for which we as National Assembly have the requisite jurisdiction to approve the forces to go to a foreign country. Thank you so much, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Member for Kamkunji, Honorable Yusuf.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I stand to support this resolution, and I do so as a former member of the United Nations and full respect for the UN Charter and our role as a member of the international community. In fact, Madam Speaker, the Haiti government had requested the United Nations Security Council to help the stabilization of that country, on whose security situation is in dire straits at the moment. The situation in Haiti is grim. Law and order has collapsed, and the people of Haiti and the government of Haiti need support. And as a result of that, the UN Security Council passed a resolution. This is a resolution which was passed on the 2nd of October 2023, which approved the deployment of UN troops and UN police to stabilize the situation in Haiti. And every UN resolution has, which deploys peacekeeping, has a police component. Under Chapter 6 or and Chapter 7 of the UN Charter, the UN has the powers to deploy peacekeeping forces, enforcement forces, and that includes a police component, which in this particular case, the Republic of Kenya has been asked, and at the request of the Haitian government, and at the request of the United Nations. We are now obliged to deploy a police force to Haiti. We are not an island, Madam Speaker. We don't live in an isolated world. We are part of the international community, and Haiti is not an isolated country for us. Haitians are of African descent, and Kenya, as a member of the African Union, fully supports not only the 55 African countries that are members of the African Union and also members of the United Nations, but all the countries with people of African descent, which includes the entire Caribbean nations, Brazil, and many other countries. And with the history of Haiti as it is, we've had a major interaction with the people and the leadership of Haiti over the years. From 1945, if you remember, when the Pan-African Conference was held in Manchester in the UK, the 5th Pan-African Conference, Jomo Kenyatta, who became our president, attended that. We also had a Haitian delegation. We had a large number of Caribbean delegation, including CLR James, William Dubois. So we have always been part of the Pan-African movement, of which Haiti, as an important country, is an integral part. We are not, this is not the first time we are deploying internationally, Madam Speaker. There's a lot of commotion here. Can you,
Honorable Speaker,
we cannot engage in a proper debate.
we're having serious disruption from Korea here.
I can,
A very important member is... Your first time, I think,
Madam Speaker,
Honorable Caroli, please do not address the member. You can only address the House through the chair. Thank you. Okay, proceed, Honorable.
Madam Speaker, for the information of this House, this is not the first time Kenya has deployed internationally in peacekeeping operations. We have deployed more than 15 times. I personally remember serving in a number of peacekeeping missions. We deployed in East Timor. East Timor at that time did not have a government. The government had collapsed, and the United Nations deployed peacekeeping forces and ran that country until it became independent. And we had a police force. We have also deployed, Madam Speaker, in Namibia, in Cambodia, in Yugoslavia, in Bosnia-Herzegovina, in East Timor, as I have said, in Sierra Leone, in Kosovo, in Angola. And at the moment, we have police officers serving in conflict areas in South Sudan, in Somalia, the Democratic Republic of Congo, Sudan, and Western Sahara. So our forces have been in place, and therefore what we are doing now is just deploying in support of a UN resolution to keep peace in Haiti. And we need to support the people of Haiti. We need to be part of the solution to the problem of Haiti. And
the Honorable Sarah Correre.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I also rise to support the motion. And indeed, Madam Speaker, this motion is properly before this House. Madam Speaker, it is true that Kenya is a member of the United Nations, and we have the responsibility to be our brother's keeper. And for avoidance of doubt, Madam Speaker, I want to refer this House to the report of the Committee on Security. Madam Speaker, Kenya has posted its police officers to other missions in the other years as late as 1989. And Madam Speaker, in 1989 to 1990, Kenya deployed its officers to Namibia, and we sent 30 officers to Namibia. In 1992 to 1993, Kenya sent its officers to Cambodia, 20 of them. In 1992 to 1995, police officers were sent to the former Yugoslavia, 50 officers were sent there. In 1995 to 1996, Kenyan officers were sent to Bosnia, and 20 officers were sent there. In 1999 to 2002, we sent 40 officers to East Timor. In 1998, we sent police and civilian support to Croatia, and 20 officers were sent. 1998 to 1999, officers were sent to Sierra Leone mission, and 5 officers were sent. Madam Speaker, in 1999 to 2005, officers again were sent to Sierra Leone, and 51 officers were sent. In 1999 to 2008, officers were sent to Kosovo, and 98 officers were sent to Kosovo. In the year 2005 and 2006, the African Union sent Kenyan officers, 50 of them to Darfur. And Madam Speaker, to date, we have officers in South Sudan, we have officers in Somalia, we have officers in the DRC, we have officers in ABA, we have officers in Western Sahara, we have police officers in New York, we have police officers in Italy and Addis Ababa. And Madam Speaker, when this thing came before our committee, we raised several questions. One among them was, Haiti is a French-speaking country. How are we going to send our officers there? And Madam Speaker, it came to my realization that security officers speak in silence. And that is why if you come to Laikipia today, Madam Speaker, where the British Army used to train since colonial times to date, you will get children of mixed races. And these officers don't speak in Maasai language, and the Maasais don't speak the British language. But how these things happen, it is because security officers speak in silence. And Madam Speaker, Burundi is sending its troops there. Burundi is a Swahili and French-speaking nation, and they're going to give support to our troops. Senegal is sending its troops there. Madam Speaker, we are a global nation. We are an international community. When the world is not safe, when Haiti is not safe, we are not safe. What is happening in Haiti, Madam Speaker, is some gangs terrorizing locals. Women are raped, children are kicked out of their houses, and what our police is going to do is to give support to the Haitian police to train them, to secure critical infrastructure. And Madam Speaker, if a woman in Haiti is not saved, I'm not safe in Kenya. So Madam Speaker, I want to support, and again, I want to refer this House to the Constitution, the National Police Act, Section 1081. And Madam Speaker, unless we are speaking in
the Honorable Member for Nyaribari Chache, Zahi Janda.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to support the Haiti motion because, Madam Speaker, we are a global community of nations, and it is absolutely essential for Kenya, together with other multinationals, to help Haiti. It is a matter of humanitarian consideration to help offer support to our brothers and sisters in Haiti. Madam Speaker, the sole aim is to help usher in stability, development, and democratic governance through a political framework owned and driven by the people of Haiti. Madam Speaker, it was through a request by the UN Security Council of the deployment of multinational security missions to Haiti. Kenya, Madam Speaker, will help to reinforce Haiti National Police Force. Madam Speaker, I fully support the deployment of Kenyan Police Force. Madam Speaker, you are aware that we have forces in the DRC and other African countries, and you can see what our troops have done in Congo. So I stand to support. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
The Honorable Karoli Omondi.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. I begin by first noting that there exists a proper legal framework for the deployment of our police service men and women overseas, and that is under Article 107 and 108 of the National Police Service Act. I think that matter rests there. Though I would urge that proper gazette notices be issued by the executive to give effect to those provisions. Madam Speaker, the seeds of the current turmoil in Haiti commenced with the arrival of Christopher Columbus in the New World. And if you've had the privilege of reading the book by C.L.R. James, The Black Jacobins, who was a teacher of my friend who has just left here, the member for Kamkunji. He begins by saying, Christopher Columbus landed in the New World, and after praising God, urgently inquired for gold. In other words, it was an expedition of exploitation. And when they annihilated the indigenous Indian population of Haiti, efforts were made to transship Africans from the west coast of Africa to Haiti. And since then, Haiti has prospered, created a lot of wealth for so many people, but has also been a tragedy to the African people. It is my conviction that it is very important that we all take an interest in what is happening in Haiti. Haiti was the first African-led country in the Western Hemisphere, where the slaves rose up, fought away the French, won their freedom,
The Honorable Member for Belgut. The member for Belgut is not there. The Honorable Member for Tindiret. Your time is up.
Thank you. Is it me or?
Let's give the Honorable Chair now that he has arrived.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Allow me also to add my voice on the deployment to Haiti. And like many of my colleagues have said, in fact, I really don't understand why they do not involve the Defense Committee on this matter. And I've listened to TJ Kajwang. I just want to invite him also to look at the Act. If you look at the discretion, you will go to 108.1, and you will see the President will also interpret the discretion differently. But I don't want to go to the details. Let me just go to the humanitarian bit of why we need our police officers to be in Haiti as soon as possible. Honorable Speaker, we've done, this country has been on different missions before, with people on missions on countries where we are not even related in any way, not in color, not in religion, but we participated. Our officers have been to Kosovo, our officers have been to Sierra Leone, our officers have been to East Timor. In fact, the Deputy DIG, Gabo himself, led a mission that did so well in East Timor. And it is part of the reasons why we must deploy our officers to Haiti. Kenya in 2018 was recognized, and 28 officers by the United Nations and promoted. In fact, the United Nations took one of the officers, the Chief Inspector of Police, Kirubo, and retained in the UN because of the deployment that had been done to Southern Sudan and the work that they did in Southern Sudan, and in recognition for their distinguished service in Southern Sudan in trying to restore peace in that country. Our officers were recognized by the United Nations, and on 26th June of 2028, 23 Kenyan police officers were awarded different medals of recognition for that effort. Honorable Speaker, foreign policy is hinged on 5 pillars. There is peace diplomacy, economic diplomacy, environmental diplomacy, cultural diplomacy, and diaspora diplomacy. This country must continuously be the anchor of peace that it is. We must continuously engage in making sure that the regions that we've been asked or deployed, we as a country are able to participate in restoring peace within the region. Honorable Speaker, Kenya has done so well. We've like I did mention in the beginning of the week, shortly our officers from Somali who have restored relative calm will be on a drawdown coming back to the country. We are engaged in peace missions within the region, in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Somalia, Burundi, and many other countries. I honestly do not see why we cannot go to Haiti. The problem in Haiti, and we should also be very fair, Kenya, this is the gangs, and they are only in the capital of Haiti, that is Port-au-Prince. The gangs that Haiti is dealing with are about 200 gangs. This country before, and the records are here in this house, in the year 2017, we were told Kenya had 325 gangs, including Mungiki, including Chingororo, and many other gangs that we have. Honorable Soro is not amused about Chingororo. But all of them were quelled by our police officers. Honorable Speaker, I want to submit that our officers are able, and there is no reason why we should not deploy our officers to Haiti. Honorable Speaker, I support.
The Honorable Member for Lari, Honorable Joseph Kahangera.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I raise under Standing Order 95, considering that we have had many members who are supporting and those who are opposed, considering also that we have more important business before the House. Madam Speaker, I wish to ask that the mover be called to reply.
It seems it's the mood of the House that I should... Mover will reply. It seems it's the mood of the House. I should put the question. Honorable members, I now... Honorable... Rubatongoya. Honorable members, it's hard to decide, so we'll proceed with this first. Honorable members, I now put the question that taking into account the consideration and the recommendations of the Joint Committee of the National Assembly, Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security, that the Joint Committee of the National Assembly, led by the Honorable Member of Tongoya as the chair, be called to reply. Honorable members, I now put the question that taking into consideration I now put the question. Honorable members, just allow me to proceed with this. We have to say it properly, which means I have to say the title of the joint committee, which is chaired by Honorable Tongoya, to be called to reply. I want to put that question. Yeah, so if you just let me do my job. Honorable members, because there is a dispute as to whether we should put whether the mover should reply or not. Isn't that the question before the House? So I want to ask, yes, I want to ask whether the House is in agreement. You will have an opportunity to decide as the House whether the mover should be called to reply or not. Okay, honorable member, when you finish making your altercation. What's your point of order, Honorable Otiende?
Madam Speaker, I want your guidance. I will wait until you're done consulting. Madam Speaker, I wish to get your guidance on a fundamental matter, and that is the fact that this being a house of debate, usually the minority will have their say and the majority will have their way. Madam Speaker, I want to bring to your attention that it may not be easy for you to determine who is the majority and who is the minority. But it is clear that in the course of this very short debate, it is the majority who have had the greatest contribution in the following manner. The Honorable Yusuf came to the minority side and is clearly of the majority side. The Honorable Korere came to the minority side, is clearly of the majority side, with the result that being minority, we are not even, I'm on a point of order, Mr. Majority Leader, I'm on a point of order. You can't be on a point of order
Honorable
So
Otiende,
all I wanted, your guidance is this. The guidance I want is this.
I will give you the guidance.
Yes. Where it is clear that the minority is denied both their say and clearly their way, is that in line with the parliamentary standing orders?
Honorable Otiende, the mere fact that somebody is from the minority side doesn't mean that they are required to always object or not support the report. The point is that the minority side got the opportunity equal to that of the majority side. If the members of the minority side decided to support the majority side, that is within the prerogative of those individual members. And honorable members, because there seems to be disagreement as to whether the mover should reply or not, I will put the question as to whether the mover should reply or not, and then you will have the chance to have your ayes and nays. Honorable members, I now put the question that the mover be called to reply. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? The ayes have it. You have insufficient numbers. You don't have sufficient numbers. Okay, the numbers are not sufficient. Mover to reply.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I want to take this opportunity to really thank members who contributed into this very important motion. And having keenly listened to all of them, it's true it's a very important matter. And I want to appreciate all of you who supported to send our very disciplined, professional, and competent officers to the country of Haiti to help bring peace to that country of our African descendant. Madam Speaker, I just want to highlight a few things. One, why Kenya was appointed as the lead nation. It's true, Madam Speaker, is on record that Kenya has previously participated in helping bringing peace to the world. And there are a few countries that we had mentioned, and mentioned by Leader of Majority and others who have spoken.
What's your point of order, Honorable Osoro?
Madam Speaker, protect me.
Honorable Speaker, Honorable Mayo is acting disorderly in this house. She's tearing and throwing papers around while a member is making presentation, Honorable Speaker. I think it is quite in order for her to behave that way in the floor of the House. Tearing papers, you know, throwing papers all over, walking around and shouting. Honorable Catherine Omayo.
Okay, I didn't see that, but I will get the cameras. We will have the cameras reviewed, and the matter she can be dealt with at a later time. Let us proceed, member for Narok.
So, Madam Speaker, thank you so much. I've just mentioned that I want to outline a few things, Madam Speaker. One, the very fundamental question before us here is whether the procedure was followed. I want to confirm to the country and this House that the committee followed the due process of law to the letter. And it has been actually from the report, Madam Speaker, attached to the report, it indicated how we, from the Security Council, from the UN, coming to the CS, Internal Security and Administration, coming, Leader Kidogo, just a bit. So I want to confirm that we followed the due process to the letter, Madam Speaker. It is evidence, Madam Speaker, out of the 15 members of the committee, we had 14 or 13 approving the report and deployment of our officers, and only one minority report, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, it is true that Kenya has participated previously in several peace missions, and they had continuously done it with great distinction and honor. We are a proud country that we are known for many other things, and including also our officers to help bringing peace. Madam Speaker, there is one thing that I want just to bring it to the attention, that the period of deployment is 1 year, and it will be reviewed after nine months. Another thing of importance to mention, Madam Speaker, the cost. I know Kenyans are wondering and asking questions on who bears the cost. It is good to be on record, Madam Speaker, that the entire cost, 100%, will be bared and borne by the UN. Madam Speaker, I want to challenge and call those of us who had reservation to please, let's support our disciplined officers to go to the country of Haiti with our prayers and support, and we continue reclaiming our position as a country in the global stage. We have done it before, and we are going to continuously do it. So, Madam Speaker, with these few remarks, I beg to reply. Thank you so much.
Honorable members, thank you. Honorable members, I now put the question that taking into consideration the recommendation of the Joint Committee of the National Assembly, Departmental Committee on Administration and Internal Security, and the Senate Standing Committee on the National Security, Defense and Foreign Relations, in its report on the request regarding the deployment of officers of the National Police Service to the Multinational Security Support Mission to Haiti, laid on the table of this House on Wednesday, 15th November 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 248A, this House approves the deployment of the officers of the National Police Service to the Multinational Security Support Mission to Haiti. Will as many as of that opinion say aye? Aye. Will as many as of the contrary opinion say nay? Nay. The ayes have it. Next order.
Order number 10,
report on the first supplementary estimates for the financial year 2023-2024.
The Honorable proceed. Chairperson Budget, proceed.
Thank you very much, Honorable Speaker, and I thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Honorable Speaker, I rise to move the report from the Budget and Appropriations Committee, the report on the Supplementary Estimates 1 of the financial year 2023-2024. And Honorable Speaker, previously I've had many minutes to move this kind of bills and reports, and therefore, Honorable Speaker, today I don't wish to take so much time because I can see we have a lot of business that is important, Honorable Speaker, today. But Honorable Speaker, I just first of all want to wish to bring to the attention of the House that the budget that you are currently implementing is a budget of 3.744 trillion shillings. And Honorable Speaker, what we are doing with these supplementary estimates is that we are realigning government priorities in regards to the current circumstance, Honorable Speaker, so that we are able to allocate our resources in areas that are a high impact and that will have the shortest time from the input to output. Honorable Speaker, we are making this supplementary budget or estimates in a situation where our country, Honorable Speaker, is facing a myriad of issues. And therefore, what we try to do as the Budget and Appropriations Committee is to align the limited resources that we have as our country to be able to address the issues that are current and that which gives a great foundation for the future of Kenya that we are creating. And to go to specifics, Honorable Speaker,
Honorable Chairperson, I hope you will move the motion as written after you finish.
Yes, I'll move after I finish. Or I can do that even now. I moved. Honorable Speaker, I had wished to do this when I am concluding, but it's always better to do it earlier so that members can also get talking points from the essence of the order paper. Honorable Speaker, I wish that is the report on the first supplementary estimates for financial year 2023-2024. Honorable Speaker, I wish that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the first supplementary estimates for the financial year 2023-2024, laid on the table of the House on Wednesday, 15th November 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution and Standing Order 243, 1, that approves the increment of the total recurrent expenditure for financial year 2023-2024 by Kenya shillings 90 billion, 717 million, 303 million, 737 shillings in respect of the votes as contained in the first schedule. 2, approves a decrease of the total capital expenditure for financial year 2023-2024 by Kenya shillings 24 billion, 515 million, 810,722 shillings in respect of the votes as contained in the first schedule. 3, approves an overall increase in the total budget for financial year 2023-2024 by Kenya shillings 66 billion, 201 million, 573,015 shillings in respect of the votes as contained in the first schedule. And 4, approves Kenya shillings 1 billion, 736 million, 121,765 spent under Article 223 of the Constitution in respect of the votes outlined in the third schedule. 5, resolves as the first schedule forms the basis for the introduction of the supplementary Appropriations Number 3 Bill of 2023, and 6, further makes the policy resolutions contained in the fourth schedule to the order paper. Honorable Speaker, I'll just add a few remarks before I move. I was saying that we are in a circumstance where we are trying to align the limited resources that we have as our country to be able to address the current situation of issues, Honorable Speaker, as we also lay a basis of the growth of our economy. And Honorable Speaker, I want to laud this House because of the policies that we have been making, both on the finance sphere, but also in regards to budget, because all these are laws that we make in this House. And Honorable Speaker, I don't know whether the consultations can be a bit lower.
Honorable members, let us give the chair budget kindly opportunity to be heard. So let's consult in lower tones. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I'm saying that I want to laud this House because of the policies that we have been making, both on the finance front and also on the budget, because these are laws that we make. And even budget making process, Honorable Speaker, is part of lawmaking in one respect. Honorable Speaker, I want to say that our country has had several issues that we are dealing with in regards to the economic growth, on the front of the macros, but also what I would call the economy of the pocket. And Honorable Speaker, the economy of the pocket, where the rubber meets the road, I want to say that there is room for improvement in terms of making sure that the standard of life of Kenyans is improving, also as we lower the cost of living. And Honorable Speaker, this is always a moving target, and we are doing everything possible so that we have this contained and aligned. But Honorable Speaker, it is important also that we celebrate some of the issues that are happening in our country. Even with the hardships that we have in our economy, Honorable Speaker, it is important that I mention to this House that through the policies that we make, we have been able to contain inflation as one of the parameters of macroeconomics, Honorable Speaker. And I want to say that a year ago where we were in terms of inflation, in regards to now or comparative to now, we are in a much better situation. And Honorable Speaker, I say so because our inflation was almost going into double digits. But as we talk here, Honorable Speaker, last month, the data we got from the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics is that our inflation is actually below 7%. It is important that I mention that our benchmark in terms of inflation in Kenya is 5%, and then there is a band of plus or minus 2.5% either way. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, on that front, it is important that I mention we are doing well. But Honorable Speaker, on the way we measure inflation, we look at it on the food side, which is food inflation, and also we add fuel inflation, and then lastly, co-inflation. I want to say that we have been doing pretty well out of the fiscal policies that we have employed in terms of containing food inflation. But also, Honorable Speaker, we have a challenge on fuel inflation, and I am sure the policies that we are putting in place will also address that sphere. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, our inflation would actually be much lower were it not for the gains that have been subdued by the fuel inflation side, Honorable Speaker, and especially on issues that are largely beyond the control of our country, Kenya. But Honorable Speaker, also, on the other parameter of economic growth, it is important that I mention to these colleagues of mine who have been very, very instrumental in also shaping the decisions that we make as the Budget Committee, but that notwithstanding the economy of the pocket that is not doing so well, Kenya as a macro economy, Honorable Speaker, is actually doing very well comparatively globally. Honorable Speaker, in the first quarter of 2023, Kenya economy grew by 5.3%. Honorable Speaker, in the second quarter of 2023, the Kenyan GDP grew by 5.4%. Honorable Speaker, this is not just the Kenyan data, but data from even Bretton Woods institutions like IMF and World Bank. And in that respect, Honorable Speaker, Kenya in the first quarters of 2023 was actually the 29th fastest growing economy in the world. Honorable Speaker, these are things that are important to mention, where I also comment that there is also something that we need to do to make sure that this economic growth is felt in the pockets of Kenyans. Honorable Speaker, why are we making this supplementary budget? Honorable Speaker, I'll mention just a few, because I want to conclude in the next 5 minutes so that we go to also the debate. And I want members, kindly, if it's possible, because this is the essence of this debate, you may conceptualize it. The essence of making this supplementary is, number one, to address the issue of payment of interest rates so that we can go step by step. The real reason of having this supplementary budget now is because we as a country want to provision enough resources for the payment of interest rates. Out of the total increment of this budget of around 200 billion, 145 billion Kenya shillings is an increment in the payments of interest rates. Honorable Speaker, one would ask, why are we doing it now? And we just did our budget in the month of June. The reason is this, Honorable Speaker. From the month of June to date, we have had two main issues happening around interest rates. One is the interest rate itself, which is the cost of money. Honorable Speaker, we have had to raise our interest rates as home so that, Honorable Speaker, we can make Kenya attractive for capital inflows. Honorable Speaker, this is a contractionary measure, Honorable Speaker, that we are doing as an economy. Honorable Speaker, interest rates, therefore, domestically and globally, have been rising. And therefore, the cost of our debt has been rising. And therefore, we needed to provision monies for the payment of this interest rate. On the second front is Forex. Honorable Speaker, our debt 1 year ago was 50-50, 50% domestic and 50% foreign. In a debt situation of 10 trillion, it therefore means our foreign debt was around 5 trillion Kenya shillings. And actually, to quote precisely, Honorable Speaker, it was actually 4.3 trillion Kenya shillings in terms of our domestic debt. Now, out of this foreign debt, majority of it, Honorable Speaker, is dollar denominated. But the Kenya shilling has lost around 20% from January to date. And actually also from June to now, we have been subdued. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, we are provisioning monies so that we are able to pay our obligations timely, Honorable Speaker. And the reason for this, Honorable Speaker, is that the government funds itself using cash, which is the Kenya shilling. But in terms of the payments of international or foreign obligations, we use domestic currencies. That is where there is a loss, Honorable Speaker, and therefore our country will be spending an extra 145 billion Kenya shillings as an increase in cost of our debts when it comes to repayment of our interest rates alone. Secondly, Honorable Speaker, some of the increments that you have made in this budget, number one is education. We have put in 20 billion Kenya shillings into TSC. Honorable Speaker, out of the policies we have passed in this House, policies around NITA, policies around the new NSHF, Honorable Speaker, the previous NHIF, the issues around NSSF, we needed to provision TSC with money, being the largest employer in Kenya, for their portion as the employer to be able to cater for those statutories. Honorable Speaker, secondly, and I want members to also be keen on this, we have also provisioned around 5.4 billion Kenya shillings that is going into bridging the gap of the deficit of the JSS funding in terms of capitation. Honorable Speaker, in this budget, we have provisioned that money. Honorable Speaker, in this supplementary also, we have provisioned monies for the new funding model of the tertiary education. We have put in over 4 billion Kenya shillings into giving scholarships and loans to TVET students. And on the other side of the universities, Honorable Speaker, we have provisioned enough resources for the intake that is currently in course and the next intake. Honorable Speaker, we have also provisioned 3.4 billion Kenya shillings, monies for the infrastructure of JSS institutions. And Honorable Speaker, we have also recalibrated that. That money will no longer be going to the Ministry of Education. All that monies will be going to NGCDF, because the patrons, the members of this House, have shown that they are the best managers when it comes to execution of public facilities. Honorable Speaker, also, we have provisioned 8.25 billion Kenya shillings that will go into post-harvest management and also the purchase of fertilizer for the next season. And therefore, Honorable Speaker, when it comes to inputs of our agriculture sector, we have taken care of that. Honorable Speaker, we have provisioned monies for sugar reforms. And some of these monies, Honorable Speaker, will be going into payment of arrears owed to Kenya's sugar farmers, Honorable Speaker, so that we can continue releasing more resources to our economy. Honorable Speaker, there is a lot more that we have done in the supplementary estimates, and I will call upon members to also go through the report so that we can also participate. We have given monies to NCPB for the purchase of maize so that the sweat of our farmers will not go down to drains, Honorable Speaker. And we have also provisioned money for coffee cherry fund, Honorable Speaker, so that our coffee farmers can have, Honorable Speaker, a facility to take forward the agriculture sector, and especially when it comes to cash crops. Honorable Speaker, on the policy front, we have seen a lot of improvement by the National Treasury insofar as invoking Article 223 is concerned. This time we are only approving less than 2 billion Kenya shillings, monies spent at Article 223. And the bulk of this money, Honorable Speaker, is going into post-harvest management. Honorable Speaker, also lastly, is that out of the reports that we usually make in this House, Honorable Speaker, the National Treasury or the Executive has now come up with a pending bills commission, Honorable Speaker, which will go a long way into addressing those pending bills that have really hampered the growth of our SMEs, Honorable Speaker, majority of whom are owed these monies. Honorable Speaker, with those many remarks, I want to really thank all the members of this House. You have always been a source of knowledge to us as the Budget Committee. I also want to thank all the departmental chairs who have appeared before us for the last few days. And something we also do as the Budget and Appropriations Committee, Honorable Speaker, is that we also ride on the knowledge and the wisdom of the departmental chairs. Honorable Speaker, if you check our reports, you'll clearly see that the Budget and Appropriations Committee respect all the decisions by the departmental chairs. There is usually hardly variations. We rarely never do any variations from the departmental chairs' reports because we believe we should also be capitalizing on the wisdom and the knowledge of the members of the departmental committees in this House. With those many remarks, Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and request the very able Vice Chair of the Budget and Appropriations Committee, the Honorable Mary Emase, to second.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. I'm being told to be brief. I think members are eager to contribute to this motion. Madam Speaker, as I second, I just want to join my chair from the onset to just appreciate the contribution of the members, all departmental committees, to the budget process. The report you have before you is a combination of a lot of work, effort, commitment, time that members have put through without forgetting our parliamentary budget office that have had to assist us, direct, advise, in unpacking the supplementary budget and the whole process up to report preparation and recommendations. Having said that, Madam Speaker, I just want to emphasize on one aspect. You know, for us to appreciate the budget, we must understand the macroeconomic fundamentals underpinning it. The chair has articulated in details, being an economist and a very able chair, but I just want to emphasize, because it's important, we must understand why we have done what we have done in the manner in which we have done it. Madam Speaker, we are preparing supplementary one at a time when Kenya is experiencing a very difficult economic time, and not only Kenya, many countries across the world. On this front, therefore, Madam Chair, I must say our economy has been very resilient to the shocks, the economic shocks. I remember during our discussions, one of the members was telling us, you are blaming everything to the war in Russia, to now the war in Israel. But these are facts we must confront. Even we are still recovering even from the impacts of the COVID-19. Then came the wars, and now we have the vulnerability to debt, and because of the economic tightening of many advanced economies, we are seeing increase in interest rates, we are seeing fluctuations in the exchange rates. So all these things have affected us. And therefore, in view of the foregoing, Madam Speaker, we had to rearrange the budget. We have to rearrange the budget in a manner that addresses or mitigates the impacts of these challenges in the economy. Therefore, just a case in point, we must do this so that we can be able to cushion Kenyans, cushion the nation from more or severe, impacts of the same, and alleviate Kenyans from suffering. Therefore, just a case in point, I want to speak to the aspect of debt. We know that Kenya borrowed the Eurobond sometime in 2014. But to date, that has attracted 70 billion. And right now we're having our foreign debt at 448.7 billion, and domestic debt is at 415, and we are about to borrow more. So what am I saying? At this point, when we're preparing this budget, we have to prepare it in a manner that we are addressing consolidation measures so that we are able to reduce the deficit and also reduce accumulation of debt. And how do we do that? We must rearrange our budget. We have our needs and wants. But you know, at this point, this is a time when we have to ask ourselves, what can wait? What can't wait? And what can we do away with altogether? And that is where the austerity measures come in. So, I know even when we're looking at the budget, most of the departmental committees had wish lists, endless wish lists. But then we had to make a decision to make rearrangements so that we can create what we call physical space, more leg room for us to be able to rearrange the money, take some of that money to help us pay our debt, and also allocate to other priority areas, emergent areas, like address issues to mitigate El Nino, the issue of climate change, and many others. So, even if we have to borrow by rearranging, then we will end up borrowing less as opposed to borrowing more. So this rearrangement was necessary in the budget. Having said that, allow me to touch on a few areas. The sectors that are benefiting more from this rearrangement, one of them is agriculture. We know that agriculture sector has employed a number of reforms towards improving competitiveness of our exports, towards securing food security, so that in the long run we are able to bring down the cost of food and therefore the cost of living. And at the same time, we know that agricultural sector is the one that creates a lot of employment for this particular sector. So I just want to say that this sector has benefited more. We have 516 million going towards paying arrears to farmers. We have 550 million for food security diversification, among others. And also, as I approach conclusion, education sector is also one of the biggest beneficiaries. There is 1 billion to Nairobi schools. We know that Nairobi has the largest population, and some of the constituencies you will find they have 2 schools or 5 schools. So there is more money going towards supporting Nairobi schools to create more schools. We also have new funding going to the new model university funding to support education in our universities. And also there is allocations going to social protection. You will remember we registered our elderly persons, and now we have allocated 2.8 billion towards that end. And also there is more allocations, including to the Hustler Fund and many other. Thank you, Madam Speaker. I want to stop there. Thank you for the opportunity.
Point of order on the secondly. Let me propose the question first, surely. Because what exactly are you? I think members are anxious about this. And I must say my claim to fame is that Honorable Emase was my very able senior accountant when I was at the judiciary. And I can see she hasn't lost her touch. Honorable members, I now propose the question that this House adopts the report of the Budget and Appropriations Committee on the first supplementary estimates for the financial year 2023 and 2024, laid on the table of this House on Wednesday, 15th November 2023, and pursuant to the provisions of Article 223 of the Constitution and Standing Order number 243. 1. Approves an increment of the total recurrent expenditure of the financial year 2023-2024 by 90,717,383,717 in respect of the votes as contained in the first schedule. Obviously, my math is not that good. 2. Approves a decrease of the total capital expenditure of the financial year 2023-2024 by Kenya shillings 24,515,810,722 in respect of the votes as contained in the first schedule. 3. Approves an overall increase in the total budget of the financial year 2023-2024 by Kenya shillings 66,201,571,015 in respect of the votes contained in the first schedule. And 4. Approves Kenya shillings 1,736,121,765 spent under Article 223 of the Constitution in respect of the votes outlined in the third schedule. And 5, resolves that the first schedule forms the basis for the introduction of the Supplementary Appropriation Bill number 3 of 2023, and 6, further makes the policy resolutions contained in the fourth schedule to the order paper. You may now have your point of order before the debate?
Yes.
Or do you want the debate to start, then maybe your point of order can mature?